Hi there guys, this is Cassandra. I'm a Riffle in Time and I'm so glad you're here. Today we are doing another VR. This one's kind of especially cool to me because I was tagged to do this one and my perspective as a tarot shop owner is being requested, which I love to see other people's perspectives, so I thought it was really cool. This is the Aspirational Tarot is the hashtag, and I did hashtag. Sorry, I'm embarrassing. The channel is Rowan here. I'll tag the original video and all that good stuff below, but we're gonna get into these prompts. We have number 1. What is my ideal number of decks? And this one's like one of those like hot topic or like hot opinion or whatever it is that I see people get like really one way or the other about. And I'm not going to excite anyone here because it's just how I always have felt, is that whatever is the right number of decks for you in your practice is the right number of decks. And so I have been in different places where like my collection needed to be at different places. And like when I first started out, I had 1 deck for a very long time. Then like I maxed out at 5 for a period of time and I wouldn't get any more because that was all I could handle. And as I kind of get more decks in, I will trim some back and I just kind of really adjust to my point in life. And so right now I have a shop and a toddler, and that kind of like does 2 different things. One, the shop brings in more decks always, but having like a toddler and not as much time and being a small business owner, like I have to kind of move things. So I will move decks more frequently than maybe someone else will because I don't have as much space. I live in a small apartment, again, with toddler. And I swear for little people, they have so much. They take up so much space. But also like, I don't have the time to dedicate that I would have 5 years ago. So it really is something that I think whatever fits works. And right now, I think I'm sitting about a little under 100 would be what I think is my number. And that might seem like crazy to you, but again, I think it's a little, everybody's situation is a little different and what they need is a little different. So I just love that everybody has like different needs and wants and desires. I think that whatever works for you works for you. What is my ideal storage situation for my reality? And what you can see here is this is maybe not my dream situation, but this is really the manifestation of like something to do with them. I don't know if it's the toddler in me. Maybe my son's rubbing off on me, but I have always really had like an object permanence issue where if it's not right in front of me, I forget about it. But it has gotten worse these last probably 5 years. And I had to get them out of the bags and boxes and things like that I had them stored in, because if I couldn't see them, they weren't there. So I would just use the ones that were like on the ready. And so I got the shelf. And it's a 3-tier shelf and it's barely enough room for them. Again, I have some bags over here overflowing. And then I have my like purgatory area over there. And then I have shop decks. So that's probably even weirder, is like I have to store my shop decks in my house. So I have this huge, almost like pantry shelf kind of vibe over here where I have like storage for the shop decks. So my ideal situation is I would have my own room for all of my decks. And for the shop, I would probably make like my desk area, like my working area and the shop area kind of all in one. And I would have to have my decks in my desk area because that's something I do when I work. So my ideal is like to have like a nice size space for it one day where this isn't my bedroom, you know, over on the side. So dreams, hashtag dreams. And also I want like the shop for, there's lots of things to say there. I have dreams of having a space for these decks entirely one day. And that would be really cool. I have like this kind of coffee/tea shop, like maybe a tarot and tea shop idea that I really want to manifest as well. So at some point the shop decks will even go somewhere else. How do I want to use tarot versus how am I using tarot now? Why the discrepancy, if one? Honestly, I think I'm using tarot and pretty much all, like my divination decks in general, exactly how I want to use them. All willy-nilly and excited and just intuitively, and that is something I am really moving towards what I want. And I think there maybe a few years ago, even honestly like a year ago, I wasn't even in the place I wanted to be, where I was reading intuitively, that I was just doing what felt good with the cards. Like I love to journal with them. For a couple years now, I've been trying to get back into journaling, and I'd had some time constraint issues, but I think that I'm really in just this place where I'm kind of flowing more, and I love that. Flowing is where I want to be. What tarot decks would you have that you currently don't? And then what oracle decks would you have that you currently don't? So this one here is bringing out the wish list, and my wish list is much smaller than it actually is, because we talked about that object permanence thing a little earlier, and it's going to show up again here. Is once I see a deck, I really want it, unless I write it down in that moment or search it at that moment and buy it, it's off. It's off. So I started actually very recently trying to collect the names, and I want to keep tabs on this because, one, I have a shop, and it's always good to bring new decks in for my people. And also, when I'm like in a situation where somebody has a deck that I want, I can like trade or buy it or whatever it may be. If there's one going out of print, I have my eye on it kind of vibe. So I actually, since doing this, was able to get 2 decks that were going out of print before like they went out of print, and I think that's really cool. Now we'll do the out of print ones first, because I think those are the ones that most people are curious about. The Spoiler Tarot is always on my list. I will forever regret putting that off into the void, because I was like, oh, I love that deck, like, oh, that looks so cool, I'd want that. And we're seeing it on Naha's channel. This is someone like I used to watch, but before it was out of print. And I was like, oh, I'll remember, and I didn't. And then it's out of print, and it's been out of print, and it's not coming back in print, and I'm not spending $300 on a damaged copy. There's literally on eBay right now, I'm pretty sure, a damaged, scratched up, not in great condition copy of Spoiler Tarot for like $300. Tisk. The Botan Tarot is also one that's been on my list. I had a moment here just the other day that I could have gotten one for much less than it's actually selling on eBay, but it was still just like, it was just slightly over $150, and it's going for like $300 on eBay. So like, it's a good price for an out of print deck usually, but I just don't want to invest that kind of money in an out of print deck right now, especially when it's out of print. It's not going towards like the shop or something. I'm like, it'd be a big investment for a deck that would not be like used as much, kind of. That is something I haven't mentioned probably in this video yet, but if it's not in the shop, I will end up using it less, not intentionally, but like my readings that I offer are based off of decks in the shop. Like that's how it's a pick a deck reading. Like you get to choose which deck I use, and you do that by looking at all the decks I offer. So when I'm doing readings, I'm using decks in the shop. When I'm doing like any of my social media platforms for the shop, I'm using decks for the shop. And not intentionally, but a lot of times here, since I do a lot of indie deck kind of work on here and like videos, I'm showing decks that are in the shop, because if I love them and I'm really excited about them, they're in the shop. So that's that. And that would be a deck that would be getting specifically just to like hoard for myself. Another out of print deck that I have on my list is one of my very first decks. So I ended up getting the Circo Tarot and the Persephone Tarot, the tricolor edition, at the same time from this little shop called Circle of Stitches way back when. And I unfortunately was so new. I didn't know what an indie deck was. I didn't know that certain decks did different things. I knew nothing. So I got these decks not knowing that the Persephone Tarot had a ton of changes. It was completely renamed. There's no way I could have used this deck starting out. I didn't know enough about like any of the, even the like history of and like stories of the like Persephone and anyone. So like I had nothing to go off of. And so I passed it along then, and I regret it because now I think I could really do something with it, but it's on the list for that reason. It's like one of my starter decks, so I wish I had it. No, there are several other out of print decks that are on my list, but for whatever reason, these are the only ones I can think of, like at the top of the head. There are some decks that are coming out soon also that are on my list. These ones are the ones I'm most excited about. My Friend Fire, which is the Oracle deck for the Gentle Tarot, is coming out soon. I'm so psyched about that. Also, an Oracle deck by the creator of the Blood Moon. I love Sam. I love anything they do. I'm ready for it. I'm so excited. I am actually part of both of Mari's and Sam's Patreons for these reasons, so I can keep an eye on this and because I adore them. The Magic Pantry Tarot, which is from the creator of the Numinous Tarot, or Threadbound Oracle is the other deck that they have. That is coming out here, I think in May on Kickstarter, so that's really exciting. The 3 new mini divvies that I just backed from Holly Audley, there was the Witching, Ending, and Lore, I think, were the 3. So I'm excited for those. Those are technically not on my wish list anymore because I did back that just this past couple days, and it's off Kickstarter now. It was fully funded, so that's really cool. And then the creator of the Ritual Tarot, I think Tira May, if I'm remembering correctly, but is doing an Oracle deck. I'm not sure of the name right now. I was trying to actually remember that when I looked at this, but I cannot remember the name of the deck. I actually have from when they first kind of announced that they were going to do, I just have like Ritual Tarot Oracle deck. So that's that's the thoughts here. I also have some in-print, like totally buyable decks that are on my wish list right now. And in no specific order other than just the random spew of thoughts that came out of my head. The Lost and Found Oracle, which I have not bought yet because it is quite an expensive deck already. And then the shipping on it, since it's coming from the UK, is horrendous. It's hard. It's hard to think to do that. So I have not actually pulled the trigger on that one, but it looks really cool. I actually saw it on a fellow like tarot tubers channel, and I was like, ooh, I've never seen that. Tarot of the Oneness. I still do not have a copy of it. I wanted to get the mini, and it's on the list again. The Joe Sparrow Tarot is actually, I think, now out of print. This was a deck that was mentioned on Whips of Your Soul's channel. Maureen, I think, put it in her top, I think it was her #1 tarot deck of 2023. So how can it not be on my list? The next deck is one that has come kind of like, it's always been on my list, but I've never like been sure enough. So the Carnival at the End of the World is a deck that I've always been really curious of since back in the time when I was watching Naha, who I don't think does actual current YouTube content anymore. But back in that Spoilia tarot time, I remember seeing this a couple years ago pop up on their page, and I was interested, and I'm still interested. I'm always worried that I'm not going to be able to read well with it. So I'm just still unsure about that one. It's going to stay on the list though. Another deck that I've been seeing a lot of lately is the Jupiter Power Moon Tarot. Now, I have had another deck by, what is it, Sad Sick Girls? I might be saying that wrong. or having the wrong name, but I have had another deck, I can't remember which one it was, and I did not click with, but I've seen a lot of good pictures like from other people posting, and it's got me really tempted. I'm hesitant because, again, I didn't connect with the star, or I think it was the star. I just happened to be at an event where someone was selling their like used decks, and it was one of them, and so I picked it up, and I think I wanted the other one though. It's like there's a star and a moon one, and I think I wanted the opposite one of what I got, but I was just like really curious, and it was right there. But I think the Jupiter power one looks really cool. The deck for Wonder Walking is another deck I've kind of had my eye on. I saw a couple people do like a review, like unboxing on it. Again, beautiful. I love different art styles, and watercolor I think is one of my favorite to personally do, so I was very drawn to that. A deck that I just very recently saw, I don't remember whose channel, was this French deck, and it wasn't Marine. That's who I thought it was initially. It wasn't Marine's channel that I saw it on, but it's a French deck called Tarot of the Strange Antlers is the translation, and I want it. That was a very recent one. And then also the Bad Girls Oracle and Tarot have been kind of on and off my list. I think I had it on my list. It ended up like forgetting about it. Then during like everybody's like top decks of last year, Marine posted it. Again, this video is just secretly about Waves of Miracle. But those are some of the decks on my wish list. Let me think if there's any others at the top of my head that I can think of. I just recently got the Color Vision Oracle, which was on my list. The Terra Volatile, which was on my list. I don't know if I have been pretty good about not just like impulse buying as much, but I have been, again, buying for the shop. The Color Visions has been on my list, and I was like, you know what? I think it's a good fit for the shop. I know a few people in my circle that might really like it, and like I do try to think of people who are like my frequenters. So like if you have shopped multiple times in the shop, know that I consider you when I do things. I'll be like, I wonder if they would like this. So it's really funny that I do that, I guess. But I think really the largest part of this was definitely me talking about my wish list. But so it's kind of like I've seen people share their wish list in general, and so I thought it would be like a cool, because this tag has that like built into it. That was fun. I really enjoy considering things like that and kind of seeing what everyone else thinks and feels. So I love you.